This is the second half of assignment number 16, 16.2. The front of my business card, when completed, is going to look like this. In the first half, I put in my logo. Now we're going to add some text, and this demo is going to show you how I did that. Now your business card may be completely different. It may be in color, it may have a white background, your logo may be something more playful, and your entire approach may be more whimsical. My point is that what I'm showing you here is simply one approach, and what I want you to comprehend more than anything is that when you get into InDesign, you should experiment with things, mess around, and see what you come up with. What I'm going to be doing here next had a few preconceived notions about the design to begin with, but much of the rest of it were things that appeal to me in the moment. That's all part of the design process. So we'll pick up where we left off, with the logo on the black field. Now it's time to add some text. So I'll create a new layer. As with Illustrator, it's always best to keep things separated so that you have the ability to move things around independently. I will name the new layer Text. I will grab my type tool, located under the T, just like in Illustrator and Photoshop. I will now need to select my type color. At present, everything is set to black. Once you select the type tool, you should go down below the fill and the stroke icons and click on the small T that is present just below that. This will bring up the type T in the fill field, indicating that you want to change the color of the type. As mentioned moments ago, the type was set to black, which was the fill default before we switched to the type tool. If I double click the T in the fill window, it'll bring up the color picker. When the color picker opens, it might look a bit different. The default color system for InDesign is CMYK, which is the color choice of the printing industry. However, at the bottom of the color picker dialog box is the hexadecimal window with its distinctive hashtag. I click on it and type in the code for white, which you should all know by now is the 6 Fs. And I'm ready to place some type. In InDesign, you cannot place type until you open a type box or a container. Every bit of copy that gets placed inside of InDesign has to have a window in which to exist. So, with my type tool selected, I drag open a container, which is approximately where I want to place the title White Crow. I've toyed with typefaces in the past, and now I know that I want something that is all caps based font. So I go up to the type font and choose Copperplate Gothic Bold. Then under type again, I go to size and just kind of guess that 12 point will probably work. It will at least put some words inside of the box, and then I can make some decisions. And then I type capital first W and then lowercase HITECRO, followed by another capital W. This will make the lead W and the end W larger than the rest of the line of type. That's the way Copperplate deals with capitals. But I want to play with the type some more. I go under Type Character, which will open up this dialog box. It may open up anywhere, but feel free to slide it around, even dock it to the right in order to clear the space over your work so that you can see what you're doing. The first thing I want to do is exaggerate both the lead and the trailing W's. To do this, using my type tool, I drag over the W, leaving the rest of the text alone. When using the character panel, I can change the vertical scaling aspect, which is the box on the left side with the icon of the T with the bidirectional arrows next to it. Third small window from the top on the left side. I've increased the vertical scaling to 150%. Then, using the baseline shift aspect window, which is the window directly below the previous one, I changed the aspect to -4 points, or -4. This will drop the top of the W down to just above my container window. I will now do the same on the opposite end, exaggerating and dropping the position of the capital W. Now I want to increase the size of the overall line of text. So with my type tool selected, I drag my cursor over the entire line of text, highlighting it just like this. First, I will expand the distance between the actual characters themselves. By clicking on the tracking aspect window, top right small window with two A icons over it, and increasing the tracking to 200, I space the word White Crow out longer, but I still want the copy bigger. So I then go to Type Size Aspect window, first window at the top on the left with the large T and the small t, and change my type from 12 point to 14 point, which makes it look like this. But it still isn't big enough, so I go back to the Type Size Aspect window and make the next available point size that I pull down, which is 18 points. And now it looks like this. What has happened is that the type is too large to fit the container. Notice the small white box with the plus in it that appears at the far right side of the container box. This is InDesign's way of warning you that you either have too much copy to fit the container or that the type size that you've selected is too big. Either way, all that is going to appear now is white with a hyphen after it. So, if I go back to my type size aspect window and highlight the point size, I can type in anything that I want between 14 and 18 points. 14 being too small and 18 of course being too big. I type in 16 points, which now gets the whole thing inside the container just fine. Now sometimes it's difficult to see how everything is going to look finally printed out with all of the bounding boxes and containers for the type lit up, so you might want to go to the preview mode to look at how it will look when it's printed. You can do this at any point. You simply click off the main artboard so that you are not activating any of the type windows, and then hit W on your keyboard. And it will drop into the preview mode. This gets all the lines and boxes out of the way so that you can look at it as a freestanding without all of the background noise. The W on the far right looks like it's sticking up further than the one on the left. But when I drop back into the working mode, I notice that the container boxes line up exactly in the same place. This is an optical illusion, but it still makes me uncomfortable. Well, I have more text to add. So, I click on another layer and add another line of text. This is where I will type in Studios in all caps, same font, copperplate. First, however, I will lock up the first text window and name it White Crow. Now that I have it clearly put into the layer, I will name the next layer Studios and type it in there. I've dropped it in at 12 points just to have something to position. I move it up under the White Crow text with the container positioned so that the word Studio will run from the H in White Crow to the O in between the two descendant W's. I decide to bring the copy down in size to 10 points from the original 12, and will now expand the length of the line of copy. Exaggerating the line length with the tracking aspect window pushed to 700. Drop back out to preview mode to see what it looks like minus all the surrounding clutter, and decide that I need a rule line between White Crow and Studios just to break it up. So I push the Studio line down just a little bit, creating a new layer named Rule Line, and lock up the Studio text layer. Clicking on my stroke line, I activate the color picker and type in the 6 Fs, changing the color to white. And using my line tool, 7 from the top, I drag open a line that runs from the H to the O in White Crow. It is set to the default of 1 point, which looks fine. Drop back into preview mode to see it without the clutter and decide a couple of things. 1. The W's are too high now. Go back in and adjust the baseline shift from -4 to -7. This brings them down even with the tops of the lowercase HITECRO. This looks better to me because now they look like they're holding the studio in line. Back to the preview and make another decision. The whole thing is too high and too far to the left. Drop back into active mode, unlock and highlight all the various layers, and click on and highlight all of the containers. And then using my arrow keys, nudge everything to the left. And then down. Back into preview, and I decide that's it. Next, we will take a quick look at the back of the business card, which is where I will place all of my pertinent information. All for now. See you in the next video.